I know the gym is like a teenage girls these days. One day hot and one day cold, one day open, one day closed, and you're like, am I ever even going to build my butt? Hello beautiful, welcome to the channel where we're all about fitness and self-improvement. My name is Scarlett and I help women transform their body to build muscle and also build a mindset that will lead to the life of your dreams. This video, I'm going to share with you 5 transformative glute building tips that will spice up your at-home workout exercises. So if you're worried that you might not make that much gains at home, don't worry about it, because with these tips, you're going to make your glute workouts 10 times harder. So don't forget to give it a like so that the algorithm can help so many other women transform their lives as well. And yeah, now without further ado, let's dive right into the video. The first mistake that you may be making is thinking that having a good sweat session, feeling like it's a good cardio session, is when you are building muscle. But that's not true. Just because you're sweating a lot doesn't mean your glute is growing a lot. So how do you prevent it? You can prevent it by not necessarily focusing on increasing reps. Doing a lot more reps doesn't necessarily mean that they are effective reps. So instead of bouncing up and down in these squats, think about the quality. Think about the control that you are having on your mind-muscle connection. Use your imagination. Imagine that every muscle fiber of your glutes, they are squeezing, contracting when you are going up the squats. Like, think about it. Just that intense control and intense focus will help you build a lot more muscle. So what you can do about is using a tempo. So some tempo, for example, you could do tempos like 3, 2, 1 or 3, 2, 3. You can increase the time that you're contracting during the eccentric and during the concentric phase, and pausing at the bottom. That helps as well, which leads onto my next step about holding at the isometric phase. So number 2 is holding at the very end. Yes, I talked about holding a little bit longer at the isometric phase with every rep. That counts as one of my tips for growing your glutes. But the other tip is also holding at the isometric phase toward the very end. So for example, let's say you are doing 12 repetitions of side hip abduction. So do 12 repetitions of them just as the tempo that I described on the first tip of this video. And also try holding your glutes at the very end and squeeze your glutes at that point until your glute says they can't no longer take it anymore. You will feel a lot more fun. You can do such type of holding, especially when you're struggling growing your upper glutes or your side glutes. Try holding at the very end of those clamshells, side hip abductions, all those movement at the very end. And the third tip is to slow down on the concentric. I talk about the eccentric phase, which is lengthening of the muscle fiber. You also don't want to miss out the concentric phase, squeezing at the concentric phase, especially for some movements such as pistol squats. Like in pistol squats, most people only think about focusing the muscle, contracting the muscle when you're going down, and they're just coming back up really easily using a wall or something to hold yourself back up. But you want those concentric phases to be super duper controlled. And another exercise that most people kind of make mistakes is, and which I also made mistakes in the past before too, is the single leg hip thrust or single leg glute bridge. Just squeeze and control on the way down, but on the way up, they're not thinking about the glute muscle contraction. They're just thinking about going back up, and you actually want to focus on the glutes and not the quads. That's a common mistake that people make too. So yeah, think about what muscles you are contracting on the concentric phase and make the concentric phase as effective as possible. And my fourth tip is to do supersets of the antagonistic muscle. And that could be doing supersets of really hard workouts that focus more on glutes along with quads, and the other one that focus more along with glutes with hamstring. For instance, doing glute and quad exercise would be like squats, and supersetting that with a glute hamstring exercise such as a stiff leg deadlift. That is a glute and hamstring exercise. So doing supersets of the two very hard glute exercises. And also kind of related to it is you can also superset the one that works on the under booty and the one that works on the upper booty, or one that works with under booty and the one that works with the side booty. You can superset abduction movement with the one that move on the front, the anterior and the posterior plane. So for example, doing forward lunges, that would be the one in the anterior and posterior plane, and the one that includes lateral lunges, that would be a lateral, aka a side movement. So do supersets consisting of the front and back plane as well as the side to side plane. Here, last but not least, you want to keep your rest periods short. I have read in the scientific literature that yes, taking your rest longer during the workouts, they help you build more muscle, and that is true, especially with the gym workouts, like when you're lifting heavy weights. But when you don't have that many weights, when you just have them at home, you don't necessarily need to take that long of a break, because when you have less period, they allow you to do more volume. Like you don't need to rest a lot, but you can do a lot more repetitions, a lot more during the whole workout. You can do a lot more volume when you have less rest periods. And it also acts as a great metabolic stimulus. What it means is it stimulates your muscles to grow more using hormones like testosterone. The cortisol level builds up higher when you have a shorter rest period. So that is why I prefer to take shorter rest periods when you're doing workouts at home. So yeah, that sums up my 5 extra effective glute building tips. One of them is focusing on quality and not necessarily quantity. Another one, you want to hold or pause at the very end. Make sure that you are super exhausted, especially at the very end of your sets. And next one, you want to be mindful of what muscles you are contracting on the concentric phases. Number 4, you want to do supersets of 2 antagonistic muscles. Number 5, keep your rest periods short. If you're more interested in glute buildings, you can check out some other articles on my blog, and you can check out on this website as well. And yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. I will see you on my next video.